Hello, so we have this exponential question here to solve, which says that we should solve for x in the equation 3 raised to the power of 2x plus 1 minus 4 bracket open 3 raised to the power of x plus 1 is equal to 0. So in this kind of equation, this exponential equation, in solving it, you are going to apply laws of indices. You are going to apply the multiplication law, and as well you apply any law that you feel that is possible for applying. So in solving this equation, let's see what we do. We have 3 to the power of x plus 1 minus 4 bracket open 3 to the power of x plus 1 is equal to 0. So now, if you could remember the law of multiplication, which states that if a raised to the power of 2 times a raised to the power of 5, this is the same thing as a 2 plus 5. So the same thing that we are going to apply here, 3 raised to the power of 2x plus 1 means it's just the same thing as saying 3 raised to the power of 2x times 3 raised to the power of 1, because we have 3 to the power of 2x plus 1, and the law of indices, multiplication law, states that if p raised to the power of 2 is multiplying p raised to the power of 7, this is the same thing as p raised to the power of 2 plus p raised plus 7. That is, when the base are the same, add the powers. So that is what happened here. The base, the equation, this is how it was before they take it to this form. So now, since we know that when the base are the same, we add the powers. This is what we have here. Then minus 4 bracket open 3 to the power of x bracket close 1 is equal to 0. Then, since we have this multiplying each other, if we write that 3 bracket open 3 to the power of x bracket open power of 2, what we have written here, this is this, what I have written here, this is 3 to the power of 2x can be written as 3 to the power of x raised to the power of 2, which is what? The product power law, which state that if y raised to the power of 2 and c raised to another power, the power should do what? Multiply itself. So now 2 to the power of x means, 3 to the power of 2x means 3 to the power of x raised to the power of 2, because now if 3 raised to the power of x and c raised to the power of 2, which means the power should multiply, will give you this what is here. So let's continue. Then minus 4 bracket open 3 to the power of x plus 1 is equal to 0. So here now, since we have 3 to the power of x and 3 to the power of x, and this 3 to the power of x, 3 to the power of x are common, we just find a quantity. Let's say, let's put in 3 to the power of x to be equal to y. Then where we see 3 to the power of x, we put what? Y. So 3 bracket open, then power of 2, because this stand for y now, minus 4 bracket open y plus 1 is equal to 0. So here now, this is the same thing as 3y to the power of 2 minus 4y plus 1 is equal to 0. And this has formed a quadratic equation. Quadratic equation is equation that the power of unknown is 2. So this has successfully formed a quadratic equation. So in this solving this equation, you can decide to apply completing square method. You can decide to apply formula method, or you can decide to apply factorization method. But since we can factor this, now in factorizing this kind of equation, what you will notice here that the first term is having coefficient of 3, which means you are going to take this coefficient and multiply with the last term. So now 3 multiplied by 3, 3 multiplied by 1 is 3. So take it at the back of your mind that this one is no longer 1 but invisible 3, because the coefficient of 3 here is going to multiply this one. So that will become, this one will become 1, not 1, will become 3, not 1 again. So at the back of your mind, this is 3 now. So think of two possible numbers. When you add, you have -4, and when you multiply, you have +3. So when you multiply, let's think of two numbers, which is what? -3 times -1 will give us what? +3. And -3 plus -1 will give us -4. So which means the two possible numbers that when we multiply, we have +3, and when we add, we have -4, and -3 and -1. So with that, we now write this equation 3y to the power of 2 minus, so this will put it in form of -3y minus 1, sorry, minus y, because one y means what? One y means y. So -3y minus 4 minus y will give us -4y. So it's the same thing as this. So we are going to remove this and replace it with this, since they mean the same thing. So that will be what? -3y minus y then plus 1 is equal to 0. Remember, this one was multiplied by 3, but you are not going to change it, you are going to leave it that way. So now we are going to insert brackets. We insert brackets. So in inserting these brackets now, find the highest common factor of the first bracket and the highest common factor of the second bracket. So now the first bracket, the highest common factor is what? Is 3y, because 3y raised to the power of 2, 3y raised to the power of 2 divided by 3y will give us y. So it's a factor. So that will, so now what you have is, you have factor 3y. So into this we now have y. Then here we have 1, because 3y divided by 3y is 1. Then here the highest common factor of the second bracket is what? Is 1. So here will be what? Y, and here will be what? -1, which is equal to 0. Because -1 times y will give us -y. -1 times -1 will give us +1. So that's the two. When you're factorizing, make sure the two brackets give you the same answer. If the two brackets are not giving you the same answer, which means you are wrong. So now with this, let's now factor. Since we have two brackets here equal, we factor it out. Y minus 1 and what? Remaining what? 3y. Remaining 3y minus what? 1, because this bracket and this bracket are the same. We factor it out by having this one first. Then we take this here and we take -1 here. So that is how this gives us now. So the next thing is to either equation 1 is equal to 0 or sorry, either the first brackets, either the first bracket is equal to 0 or the second bracket is equal to 0. So either this first bracket is equal to 0 or this second bracket is equal to 0. So now y minus 1 is equal to 0 or 3y is equal to 3y minus 1 is equal to 0. So making y the subject, y now will be equal to 1 or y is equal to 1 all over 3 because we divide both sides by 3. So since we know that y is equal to 1 or y is equal to this, from here we put 3 raised to the power of x to be equal to y. So let's call this, or let's leave it. But now to find x, we know that 3x is equal to 3 raised to the power of x is equal to y. So if y is equal to 1, which means 3x now will be equal to what? 1. If y is equal to 1 all over 3, which means 1 all over 3 now will be equal to, 3 to the power of x will be equal to what? Will be equal to 1 all over 3. So that will give us 3 to the power of x is equal to 1, means using the law of indices which states that any number that raised to the power of 0 is 1, which means, so we can put this as 3 to the power of x is equal to 3 to the power of 0. 3 to the power of 0, because 3 raised to the power of 0 is 1. So we now equate the powers. Since the base are the same, equate the powers, which means x will be equal to 0. Then the other side, 3 raised to the power of x is equal to 1 all over 3. Then 3 raised to the power of x is equal to, the law of division law states that, or the negative law states that if a number raised to the power of minus 1 is the same thing as 1 all over that number. So which means if 1 all over 3 is the same thing as 3 raised to the power of minus 1. So equating the powers, x now will be equal to minus 1. So therefore x is equal to 0 or x is equal to minus 1. So please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell